Okay, here we go. Let's talk a little Shane Bieber. It feels like he's been on the trade block forever now, and he's only 1 year away until free agency. And with the Guardians in the past, they like to try and trade these guys so they can get back as much value for them as they can. As for Bieber, over the last few years, he's had some injuries. He's been on and off the field. Last year, only made 21 starts, but the year before, made 31 starts, 200 innings. But the year before that, only 16 starts, under 100 innings. We've also seen the velocity and the stuff come down over the last few years. The strikeouts have come down. So with Bieber, there is going to be a bit of worry when it comes to the health. He was having some elbow problems last year, but it seems like the offseason workouts are going okay for him. So I would expect Bieber to have, a pretty decent season this year, but who knows? You never know when it comes to arm problems. But he is projected for good numbers, and his numbers last year, even though it was only 21 starts, were still pretty solid. A 3.80 ERA, 3.87 on the FIP. Sure, the strikeouts were a career low, 7.5, but the walks were still decent, even though they did come up a little bit. But he's still keeping the ball in the yard, a home run per 9, gets a lot of ground balls, right around 47% last year. So Shane Bieber, at only 28 years old, this is a guy, a veteran guy. He's had a lot of success in his career. He could definitely still go out there and help a rotation in need, especially one that's trying to compete for a playoff spot. So if we go take a look at the value for Shane Bieber, it's not going to be a whole lot, mainly just because of the injuries that he's been having. And again, he's only 1 year away until free agency. So when you combine those two factors, you're only getting around a median surplus of around $5.5 million. Now that definitely, could go up a little bit, when you factor in the market as well. So with Shane Bieber, he himself would not cost a whole lot, but I do wonder if maybe the Guardians would like to pair him with someone else on their roster, and that's Emmanuel Clase, one of the best closers in the game. He's extremely cheap, a $4 million AAV. He's under control. He actually has 2 club options until 2028. He's only 25 years old, so I wonder if the Guardians would want to pair Emmanuel Clase as of right now over a $50 million median value. So when you combine these two, you're right under $60 million for the median value. So that could definitely bring back a pretty hefty package. But in this video, I'm going to go over some trade packages with some teams, not with both. I got some just for Bieber by himself, but I got a couple as well with these two combined. Let's go take a look. And one more thing to note with Shane Bieber. Over a month ago, there was a report that came out that he would be open to an extension following a trade. So that could definitely have some weight when it comes to making a trade as well. So if we go take a look at baseballtradevalues.com, under the future extension value tool, they're estimating an extension, if it was for 5 years, around like $65 million or so. Maybe that could come up a little bit, maybe like 575. So maybe you could look at anywhere from 13, 15, maybe even like 16 million per year if he were to do an extension. So that is definitely something to think about when it comes to Shane Bieber as well. How about a trade to the San Diego Padres? The Padres have already made a big trade this offseason, trading away Juan Soto to the Yankees. They were unable to work out a contract extension with him, so the best thing to do was to trade him away, get value in return while you still could. So when it comes to their return, though, I thought it was pretty solid. You got Michael King, you got Randy Vasquez, you got Johnny Brito, and you got a good pitching prospect as well in Drew Thorpe. So why not, now that you lost some offense in Juan Soto, why not just try and beef up that rotation even more? You could have Musgrove, Darvish, Bieber, King, and Vasquez. That's a pretty solid rotation if you ask me. And one more thing to note about the Padres is that they have good infield defense. Last year, they ranked 6th in outs above average in their infield. Remember what I said with Shane Bieber? He gets a lot of ground balls, so that would be a really good fit. Now, would the Padres want to work out a contract extension? According to the reports this offseason, it's looking like they want to keep it under $200 million. But when we looked at that contract extension value earlier for Bieber, let's say anywhere from $560 million to $575 million, that could fit in, to the Padres payroll for sure. And Bieber is from California, so maybe he would be open to working something out to stay in San Diego. But if they were to do just a trade for Shane Bieber. I think they could definitely work something out. Pretty much any of these teams could if it was just for Bieber, because he's just going to be so cheap, right? Remember what I said, the injuries as well as the 1 year of control left. So it's not going to be a whole lot. So the deal that I came up with is Adam Mazur and Ryan Bergert going to the Guardians. As of right now, Adam Mazur is the number 8 prospect, and then Bergert is the number 18 prospect. Couple of solid pitchers here that would go back to the Guardians, and then the Padres, they have a very competitive rotation in that West, going up against a Dodgers team full of bats all over the place. So for the Padres, maybe their best course of action is beef up that rotation as much as possible. I would love to see Shane Bieber on the Padres. How about a trade to the Philadelphia Phillies? The Phillies were 1 win away from getting back to the World Series this past postseason, and I think if they had an arm like Shane Bieber at the top of his game in this rotation, I think they very well could have gone back to that World Series. What a World Series that would have been. You would have had the Rangers, the Phillies, superstars all over the place. That, I think, would have been a bit more of a competitive World Series. That's just me. I digress. But I think Shane Bieber would be a nice fit for this rotation. If he were to sign a contract extension, that would be very nice. You got Zach Wheeler, who's going to be a free agent next offseason. So at least you could get Bieber locked up to an extension, and then you worry about Wheeler down the road. So overall, I think it would be a good fit in that end. But as well, the Phillies, they have a good infield defense as well. 12 outs above average last year, 10th overall on the year. So I think this would be a nice fit. So, and another reason I think it's a nice fit is because the Phillies farm is a little more on the thinner side. So if they were to trade for just Bieber and instead of Bieber and Clase, they could definitely get a deal done if they wanted to. So I came up with a couple of packages here. So the first package I came up with is Bieber to the Phillies and then back to the Guardians. We got Griff McGarry, Alex McFarland, and outfielder Gabriel Rincon. So if we take a look at the rankings here, Griff McGarry, big fastball, still trying to find the control a little bit. He's number 5 overall. Alex McFarland is number 11. He projects very well down the road. And we got Gabriel Rincon's an outfield prospect. So you got the number 5, the number 9, and the number 11. So I think this would be a pretty nice package for the Guardians to get back. So a bit more volume here. Or maybe, and I could see Phillies fans really not liking this one, but sometimes you got to give up something good to get something good, right? So the other package I came up with is Griff McGarry along with Orion Keckering. Now remember, he appeared in the postseason last year. This is a big arm. He's going to be really good in that bullpen. But maybe the Guardians are like, hey, we like that Orion Keckering guy. So if you want Bieber, you're going to have to give that guy to us. So maybe you could do something like this. That way it would only be 2 prospects, basically. So either way, I think for a guy with like Bieber, his price range, the Phillies, there is some flexibility there because of the thinner farm system. But overall, I would love the Phillies, who are in win now mode, to go make a move like this. How about Shane Bieber on the Chicago Cubs? I know they just signed Shota Imanaga. That's a solid mid-rotation signing for them, but I'm looking at this rotation, and I feel like they could still use an upgrade. I'm looking at Jameson Taillon, a 4.84 ERA last year, a pretty bad first year with the Cubbies. Yeah, I like Kyle Hendricks, but he was hurt at times last year. Jordan Wicks, I do like Jordan Wicks, but a very small sample size. Maybe you could make an upgrade somewhere here. Maybe you could move one of these guys in another trade or something like that. But I would like Shane Bieber in this rotation. Once again, another infield defense that's very solid, especially with Dansby Swanson at short. That would be fantastic. And imagine they added Matt Chapman to play third base. That left side of the infield would be insane. So I think the Cubs, if they made some room somehow, I think it could be a good fit. So I came up with a few different options here for the Cubs because I think maybe there could be a case to maybe add something to the back end of the bullpen here. I know you got Adbert Alzolay as the closer. I do like him a lot. But could you imagine if you had Clase and him at the back end of the bullpen? I think that could be pretty nasty if you ask me. So let's get to the first idea. So I just have Bieber and some cash here. Remember, Bieber and the Guardians, they just agreed before heading to an arbitration hearing. So Shane Bieber, he's going to be making right around $13 million for this coming year. So maybe send a little cash over with him. And going back to the Guardians, Javier Assad, he's now been relegated to the bullpen after the addition of Shota Imanaga. So maybe now he could have a home. He could basically take Bieber's place in the rotation. And then a pitching prospect in Michael Arias. Arias, as of right now, is the number 12. Or maybe you could just go after one of the big arms on their farm in Ben Brown. Oh my goodness, could you imagine this? Just how about a swap? Shane Bieber for Ben Brown straight up. Maybe even send over a little cash to maybe even it up a little bit. But could you imagine if they got a big arm like that in exchange for Shane Bieber? I think that'd be pretty nice. But now I got a crazy one here. Let's get a little fun here. So how about Bieber and Clase to the Cubs, and going back to the Guardians, we got Jordan Wicks, so that would open up a spot in the rotation, and he would take Bieber's place in the Guardians rotation. And then you got Christopher Morel. That would be a really nice major league ready piece for the Guardians to pick up, and then an outfield prospect in Kevin Alcantara. Either way, if the Cubs were to make some room in their rotation, I think Bieber would be a really nice addition for them. How about the defending champion Texas Rangers? I know they do have some question marks in the rotation as of right now. You got Max Scherzer with a bad back starting the year on the IL. You got Nathan Eovaldi, John Gray, Heaney. Those guys are question marks as well with their health. So would Shane Bieber be the best guy to go after? Not quite sure, but when healthy, you know he's a reliable arm for you that can be right near the top of the rotation for the Texas Rangers. But the Rangers, they could also use some bullpen help. So maybe you can go get Clase. Leclerc can be the setup guy, and then that's a pretty nasty back end of the bullpen. But I got a couple options here for just Bieber as well as Bieber and Clase. So let's go to the first package. Let's say it's just Shane Bieber. Maybe you could send back Owen White and Josh Steven back to the Guardians. Couple of pitching prospects there, taking a look at the rankings. So as of right now, Owen White is number 8, and then Steven is number 15. So pretty simple package. Maybe that could work. If not that, maybe we could have some fun. Jack Leiter has not found his way in the Rangers farm. High draft pick a couple of years ago. Maybe we could have a fun swap here. Bieber for Leiter, straight up. The Guardians, they've done well with pitchers in the past. Could you imagine Jack Leiter joining that rotation at some point? That would be pretty fun. But speaking of fun, how about this package? Let's do a big one here. And now, the problem with the Rangers, I wonder if they would be the right fit for both Bieber and Clase. So the package that I have here is those two going to the Rangers, and then leading the package for the Guardians, we'd have Justin Foscue, Sebastian Walcott, Ezekiel Duran, and Jack Leiter. So Walcott, one of their higher prospects as of right now. He is the number 3. They just signed him internationally last year. There was an incident at one point where he was benched during the season for not hustling. So I don't know. Maybe there's been more issues that we haven't heard of. So maybe the Rangers are like, you know what? Let's just trade this guy. I don't know. I don't know anything. So, but maybe he could be a part of the package. And like I just talked about with Leiter, that could be fun. Justin Foscue is interesting because he doesn't necessarily have a fully set position at the moment. Good bat, a player with good instincts. He's a guy that you would like to have on your team, but he's not going to be amazing at second base. The third base, his arm isn't very good, right? He can field there, but just the arm's not good. And then for second base, he has good hands, but not quite the range. So maybe his home could end up being left field at some point down the road. Either way, just a pretty solid player that you can add to your system, and then you can just figure out a home for him down the road. And then you get a major league ready piece in Ezekiel Duran, right? He can play multiple positions. So maybe they could get something done. I think it'd be pretty fun for the Rangers to be able to land another arm like this, right? They've been connected with Josh Hader. That was the favorite. And then they were having issues with TV money that seems to have been resolved, but let's say maybe they didn't want to go out and spend the money for Hader. You got Emmanuel Clase there, and you could use some more pitching. So I think the Rangers, it could be a pretty solid fit. And last but not least, how about the LA Dodgers? I know it seems like they're collecting all the Infinity Stones right now. You got Shohei Ohtani for this lineup. You got Yamamoto for the top of the rotation. I mean, all you're missing now is just a dominant closer in Emmanuel Clase. I do like Evan Phillips, but if you could have Clase, I mean, my goodness, could you imagine that bullpen as well? I mean, this would be unbelievable. And then Bieber, if you got him for the back end of the rotation, I mean, come on, he would be your 4 or 5 in this rotation. It would be absolutely stupid. So I'm not even going to be cute here. I'm going straight to Bieber and Clase. You could send back the number 5 in Sheehan. He can go right into the Guardians rotation. A power bat in Andy Pages. That would be nice for the Guardians to get for their system. Someone like Michael Grove, who has pretty good stuff. Let's see what he could do over there. And then a young catcher in Yainer Fernandez. Had a pretty decent year in the minors last year. Either way, the Dodgers, they got prospects for days. They could definitely make a deal happen here. You know, maybe Michael Busch could have been part of this package until he got traded to the Cubs. Either way, though, it just shows how deep the farm system is for the Dodgers. Even without Michael Busch, they still have all of these pieces. My goodness, like it would be insane if the Dodgers could land a package like this on top of everything else they've done, including Tyler Glasnow. I forgot about him too. They've just done so much I can't even remember Tyler Glasnow. But those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Do you think Shane Bieber ends up getting traded? Do you think Clase gets traded with him? Do you think they get traded separately? Where do you think they land? Tell me your trades in the comments down below. But everyone, that's all I have for this video. If you can, on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.